Hi everybody, Exam Sam Study Aids and Media here. In this video, we're going to have a look at Accuplacer Reading Comprehension. This is Accuplacer Reading Comprehension for the new Next Generation exam. So, what's on the Accuplacer reading test? For the Next Generation exam, you'll see one literary passage with 4 questions on it. You'll see one informational paired set, in other words, 2 passages that you have to compare, and there'll be 4 questions on that. And then you'll have what's called discrete informational questions. In other words, that just means you're going to see a small passage with only 1 question on it, and you'll see 10 to 12 of those. You may also see fill-in-the-gap style vocabulary questions. There will be 20 total questions on the Accuplacer reading test. So what we're going to do next, we're going to show you passages. After the passage, you will see a question, and after the question, we will provide tips. We'd recommend that you first glance at the passage, scroll forward to the question, look at the tips if you're unsure, and then go back again to the passage to work out the questions. The answer to the question will be provided after the tips screen. Okay, take a few moments, look at the passage, then read the question. Let's look at tip 1. This kind of question is what we call analysis of evidence in support of claims. So you need to analyze the sentence following the claim very carefully. This claim is in sentence 2, so we need to read sentence 3 carefully to find the support. You may then need to find synonyms in the answer choices for the key words in the supporting sentence. Of course, press pause if you need to. For this question, the correct answer is B. In sentence 3, the writer mentions that the train was designed to give the carriages a fast and smoother ride. So we can conclude that it was the speed and the comfort of the train that made it popular. Okay, we come here now to passage 2. Scan the passage. Go forward to the question. Read it carefully. If you're not sure, have a look at the tips. Go back to the passage and try to solve. Let's look at the tips for question 2. This is a question that is asking you to analyze the emphasis in the author's word choice. So you need to look at the keywords in the question. Those keywords here are substantial, abundance, and engaged in. Once you've looked at the keywords, then you can examine the passage to see what the keywords are describing. Here you're basically searching for nouns and noun phrases that relate to these adjectives and verbs. The correct answer for question 2 is A. We know that it's the writer's intention to depict Colorado as a productive state. He uses the phrase, agriculture in the state involves the production of. So that will be the synonym for the word productive in our answer choice. Moving on to question 3 then, here we have a gap fill vocabulary type question like you might see on the test. Take a few minutes. If you're not sure, go forward to the tip and then come back and choose your answer. Looking at our tips for question 3, the judge is lessening the sentence here. So we know that the word in the gap must mean to reduce the severity of something. If you're not sure what some of the words mean on a question like this, of course, you just need to eliminate the answers that you're sure are wrong and then just make your best educated guess. The answer to question 3 is A. Mitigate means to lessen the seriousness of something. We'll go on now to one of the longer passages like you might see on the Accuplacer reading test. This reading passage consists of 5 paragraphs. You can move the video back and forth to read the paragraphs as you work through the questions. You may want to go forward now to see the question. We know that question 4 is pertaining to paragraph 1, so you can then scroll back to that to choose your answer if you feel confident. On the other hand, if you'd like to look at the tips, then go forward after the question and have a look at the tips. So here we have question 4. Let's look at the tips for question 4 then. Again, essentially, this is a synonym type of question. You notice that after the word it in paragraph 1, the writer describes the pattern and color of the object. Moving on now to the answer for question 4. The correct answer for question 4 is C. We know that the narrator is talking about the wallpaper because she describes the patterns on the wallpaper. Then she goes on to talk about the wallpaper in the majority of the passage. This type of longer passage will have 4 questions on it, so let's move on now to question 5. Again, move back in the video to read the passage and then move forward to answer the question. So here's the question, and let's move on then to the tips. So this is a question on the point of view of the narrator. Think about how this statement would sound if it were spoken out loud. The word reason would be emphasized if the narrator was speaking in a sarcastic way. Let's have a look at the answer to question 5 then. The correct answer is A. As we mentioned before, the word reason would be emphasized if the narrator were speaking in a sarcastic way. He says there is no reason. The narrator also mentions that the conclusion that she is not being reasonable satisfies her husband. So if her husband feels satisfied about thinking that she's unreasonable, she's using the word reason in a sarcastic way here, in order to perhaps poke fun at or gently to mock her husband's point of view. She's talking about this situation from the point of view of her husband, not from her own. So she's implying that her husband thinks she's irrational. Okay, moving on to question 6. Have a look at the question and then scroll back to the passage. Again, if you want the tips, they'll be shown on the next screen. Tips for question 6. This is a question on understanding the tone of the passage or the implications in the passage. So we need to examine what the narrator is discussing in the majority of the passage. Notice here that the passage mentions various ways that the narrator's husband won't accommodate her wishes. Have that in the back of your mind as you try to choose your answer to the question. Let's have a look at the answer. For question 6, the correct answer is B. The passage mentions various ways in which the narrator's husband won't accommodate her wishes. So the reader can assume that their relationship is difficult or strained if he's not doing what she wants and she's not doing what he wants. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Question 7. Here we have an inference style question. Read the question. Again, wait for the tips if you want those, or otherwise pause and scroll back to find your answer. Here are the tips for question 7. This is a question on understanding implications and drawing inferences about the narrator. Here you need to find words in the passage that indicate what the narrator's frame of mind is. In this passage, The narrator speaks repeatedly about her nervousness. What does she really mean by this? Let's go on now to the answer to the question. The correct answer to question 7 is C. The narrator speaks about her nervousness, which is a euphemism for a nervous breakdown or depression. She states at the beginning of paragraph 3, "These nervous troubles are dreadfully depressing." We'll go on now to our last set of questions. Here we have an example of what paired passages might look like on your next generation Accuplacer exam. We have passage 1 here, passage 2 here, and 3 questions to follow. Again, read the question and go back to the passage if you're confident. If not, wait for each screen after the questions for the tips. Let's have a look at the tips for question 8. You'll see comparison type questions on paired passages like this on your exam. When comparing the passages, look for main ideas. The main idea is often stated in the first sentence of a paragraph. You also need to try to avoid answers that are too specific. The correct answer for question 8 is answer C. The passages most strongly emphasize the basics of healthy eating. This relates to the question in passage 1, what does good nutrition consist of? And also to the statement in passage 2 about the importance of avoiding processed or convenience food. Take a moment now to look at question 9, or waiting for the tip on the next screen first if you so wish. Here are our tips for question 9. Passage 2 mentions disease and the failure to absorb nutrients, so we know that we're speaking about something negative here. The correct answer for question 9 is B. We know that the word deleterious has a negative connotation. The passage has been talking about disease up to this point, so harmful is the best synonym. Finally, let's have a look at question 10. Here are the tips for question 10. Read the information immediately before and after the mention of food additives. This will help you locate the specific information you need. The correct answer for question 10 is B. Manufacturers of processed food use additives to improve the appearance of food. In the second sentence of passage 2, we see that additives, quote, enhance the color of food, end of quote. If you'd like more free Accuplacer reading exercises, please visit us at practiceaccuplacertest.com, clicking on Free Reading Tests in the main menu. The reading exercises, as well as all of the reading tips that you've seen in this video, are free samples from this book. Find us on Amazon under the title Next Generation Accuplacer Reading Practice Tests with Exam Tips by Exam Sam. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.